If you've watched this video before, you know that we come out every quarter and talk about segment rates, how it affects your BP pension, and when you might need to take your BP pension based on what rates look like in the future. One of the common myths that we see is people retiring from BP think they need to elect and take their pension right away. That's not always the best financial decision. Sometimes it is. So today we'll kind of dig into what's the current interest rate environment, what do we see in the future, and whether or not it might make sense to delay taking your pension. As you may already know, as interest rates go up, the lump sum pension value that you have goes down. One of the great things at BP, though, is they offer the cash balance pension. So there is a cash balance, and that is kind of the threshold where it won't go any lower than the plain cash balance. However, if interest rates go down, you can get the positive upside where your cash balance can go up. So that's one of the things that we'll be looking at today. So we're not too worried about rates going higher and decreasing your pension. We're really worried about, okay, when will interest rates decrease? And can we make the most of that by waiting to take the pension? If we look at the federal funds expectation rate, we can kind of see the last decade plus has been a wild ride. We had very low interest rates for a number of years, 19 to 21. Then we had the fastest hikes in interest rates since the 80s. We got all the way up to 5.38. Expectations going forward, probably think over the long run we'll have a 2.6% expectation for interest rates, but it might take a long time to get there. We thought we were going to have quite a few interest rate decreases this year, probably not as many as expected, maybe none at all. So what if we do have a high interest rate environment going forward for a longer period of time than we thought? Let's look at an actual example for a BP client. Let's say your cash balance, that's that threshold that we talked about, the lowest it can go is $2 million. If we look at that as a single life annuity, that's a little over $12,000 a month for the rest of your life. And so that the way that they're looking at that is they are turning that into a cash balance based on segment rates for short, medium, and long term. And then they're also looking at it based on your life expectation. So if we look at current interest rates, you see March of 24, rates are pretty high. If you were to take your pension right now, you'd probably get the cash balance, which is that lowest threshold. If there wasn't that threshold, you'd probably actually get lower than $2 million. Great news is BP has that built in. If we wait a whole year, and let's say we think rates are going to drop 1%, so we've put that in here, there are two factors to consider. BP offers crediting of 5% every year that you hold the pension with them, so that's pretty nice. That's what we're getting with cash right now. And then if you look at a 1% drop, we just talked about if interest rates decrease, your cash balance increases. So if we look at both of those two things together, you could probably earn an extra $200,000 on your cash balance just by waiting 1 year to go ahead and make that election. So when we think about that, is that worth it? Let's look at what we could get in the market over a 1 year period of time, what we would have to get in order to justify taking it early and then just investing those proceeds in the market. So what would you need in the market to justify taking that pension today versus waiting a year and getting that 5% credit just by keeping it at BP? If you get 5% in the market, that's net zero. You're not getting anything more than you would at BP. If you get 9%, we've got about $80,000. That still doesn't really put you over the edge of that full $200,000 by also looking at decreasing interest rates. So maybe 9%, but probably 13% is really where that number makes it very attractive to go ahead and take that, invest those funds in the market versus holding them and keeping them at BP waiting for interest rates to go down. Now, do we think we'll get 13%? That's something that we need to look at. It could potentially make sense to go ahead and wait a year just to see if rates decrease. However, if we can knowingly say that we really think we'll get 13% in the market, it could make sense to go ahead and take it. All depends on where you are in retirement, what kind of funds you need. Do we need access to this earlier? And those are all things that we can talk about together and analyze for you in your unique situation. If you like this content and would love to learn even more, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel for even more information. That's great for BP. You can also follow us on LinkedIn, and you can also reach out to us for a complimentary first meeting.